Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. Chris, the South Florida Bulls taking on the Miami Hurricanes, a top 25 matchup. What are we doing here, my guy? Chris, let me ask you a question. Kind of break it down for me. Tell me about Miami and the Hurricanes.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. We were on Miami against Notre Dame. Notre Dame fan came out and hated on us quite a bit. We were right. I've been pretty damn impressed with Miami so far. Now, I was pretty high on them last year. They had a really good season last year. Obviously, Cam Ward's gone. Carson Beck has stepped in, and he has looked really good. I think he's probably, right now, the best quarterback in the ACC, honestly. He's looked a lot better than Cade Klubnik of Clemson, but I've been very impressed with Miami offensively. It looks, we talked about the receivers last year, Restrepo and those guys. They lost a majority of them. Looks like they reloaded there. I mean, Cristobal knows how to recruit. Is it Tony? Is that his last name? That number 10 kid, dude. He reminds me of Tyreek Hill. Like he does. That guy is so quick with the ball. Miami fans know who I'm talking about. But no, Miami has looked the part so far. We don't have a ton of data. Last week they beat the shit out of I think it was Bethune-Cookman or somebody like that. Did what they needed to do. Big win over Notre Dame, like I just mentioned. That was a hell of a football game, by the way. And so far, Christian, so good with the Miami defense. Remember last year, that was something we harped on a lot. They were god-awful. I mean, they had to beat everybody in a shootout, cost them a couple games at the end of the year, actually cost them an ACC title spot and probably potentially a playoff spot last season. They look like they've got that corrected so far. We're going to find out in this game, though. I want to know about the South Florida Bulls, Christian. God, let me know, man.
Potentially, not potentially. They have the best resume in college football right now, Chris. 2 top 25 wins, 2 weeks in a row, very early on in the season. Now, what will Florida be at the end of the year, and what is Boise State? We still are waiting to find that out. If they're even inside of the top 25 when the year's done, we'll see. But aside from that, the way South Florida, they have some strengths that bode really well for them in any matchup, and they have some weaknesses that at some point somebody's going to expose. Let's start with the strengths here for South Florida. Byron Brown, if they keep on this trajectory, could win a Heisman. As crazy as that is, if they can
my God.
beat Miami and win out, he has the potential because he's pretty much their do-it-all guy, right? Like
He's looked pretty good.
Even when you think, hey, we got this guy tackled, he looks like Cam Newton back there, breaks tackles, make things happen, and is electric back there. It's hard to tackle him. He also can throw the football. That's what shocks people. Has 470 yards, only one touchdown, passing touchdown, but he makes up for it again on the ground. Some of their weaknesses, Chris, defensively. Now I know they held Florida and Boise State in check. Like they limited Florida to 16 points, they limited Boise to 7. But if you watch those games, you're not just a casual observing the games. Florida was able to move the ball up and down the field on them, as was Boise State. Just when you play South Florida, you have to capitalize on it. And going into a game against Miami, I like to think that Miami, some of those areas where Florida settling for field goals or taking delay of games to punt it or whatever the hell they're doing or going for it, trying to take momentum and capitalize. I like to think Miami doesn't get into those situations and they are able to score or even better yet, take advantage and actually win this game. Chris, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Even if South Florida loses this game, which potentially they definitely could, but if they lose this game, win out, are they a legitimate playoff team, you think, at the end of the year?
Absolutely. From the group of 5, because they got to get one in. Right now, they're leading that, obviously. Boise State was a lot of people's favorites. I'm trying to think of the other couple. UNLV still hanging around at, 2-3-0 right now. They have another big game coming up this year as well, though. But, yeah, I saw Florida. They lose this game. I mean, they've had a pretty brutal schedule to start the season against 3 ranked teams. So, and like you said, they're 2-0 so far. No, I do. Christian, I got a question in this one. This is the big deal. Even when I broke this game down and I tried to predict a score, which we'll give in a minute here, I'm looking at the quarterback matchup here, and you talked about Byron Brown, and he's a damn good quarterback. But, boy, on the other end, man, and I got to ask about your boy Carson Beck coming from your team, the Georgia Bulldogs. How do you think he's looked so far this season?
I think he's found himself a home. I think that, and you got to compare it. The Georgia fan base can be a little bit rabid. Expectations can be a lot more. Down there at Miami, they struggle to sell out games at times. So I think he's been able to kind of get in there at Miami. The right things have lined up. Carson Beck wasn't going to get drafted where he wanted to. Wasn't really assured anything if he came back to Georgia. Had a pretty pretty bad arm injury there that was going to require surgery. And I just think they found a solution that worked for everybody involved at Miami. I've been really impressed with him. And again, I want the kid to do well. I know I kind of shit on him a little bit in the offseason, but when this kid's on, when he wants to play, when things are going right, like he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He could have a Cam Ward like season this year and end up being one of the first overall picks in next year's draft. So it'll be interesting to kind of speculate on that. Chris, before we get into giving a score prediction here, Miami, when they played somebody of note in Notre Dame, they let their foot off the gas a little bit in that one and let Notre Dame get back into it. Do you see something like that happening here, or do you think that they kind of have learned from it? That seems to be like a crystal ball tendency.
It is. It is, man. And he has done some of that shit in the past while he was at Oregon. He did that last year, I believe it was at Georgia Tech, or what? Not last year necessarily, maybe the year before that in the Georgia Tech game. You know what I'm talking about, the fumble. All they had to do is take a knee. Mm-hmm. I hope he's got it corrected, because if you watch that Notre Dame-Miami game, there was a point, I bet on this game, I know you did too, we both have Miami. There was a point in the fourth quarter where I was really worried. I'm like, I think Notre Dame scored, 10 points there right in a row, and I'm like, is this going to happen again, like what happened last year? They get up, and then the defense just can't stop anybody, and they let the other team back in the game. No, I don't think that happens, Christian, which kind of ties into my score prediction here. And I will say this about Miami and why they're going to win this football game. I think Miami, dude, and watch, if you haven't paid enough attention, watch closely. Their O-line is probably the best in the country, dude. Carson Beck can eat sandwiches back there, dude. They are massive. That is an NFL O-line. I was very impressed what they did against Notre Dame's defense. We know Notre Dame has one of the best defenses in the country each and every year. Give me Miami here, 35, South Florida, 17.
Similar prediction. I think it'll be close for maybe a half, and then I think Miami pulls it away. Give me Miami 27, South Florida 17.